Well, I finished up last week's video with the starboard side faired, but nothing else done to it. But after the starboard side was sanded, I noticed a few places that I wasn't quite satisfied with. So I mixed up some more 407 and patched up some blemishes. While I had some 407 mixed up to fix up some blemishes on the starboard side, I came over to take another look at the port side, and I found even more places that needed a few touch-ups. So I'm starting to wonder, how far down this rabbit hole am I going to go? I'm certainly not going to try to go for a showroom finish, so I guess it's just as well to sand off those few spots and get on with the painting. Well, same as what I did with the inside, I decided to thin the paint down quite a bit. I figured if I made it really thin and put the first coat on with a small brush, I'd be able to fill in most of the pinholes. Right now I'm thinking I might give the outside 4 coats. Since applying paint don't make for a very engaging content, I'll leave this here now and give you a look when the first coat has been applied. And of course I never recorded something completely as boring as applying 2 more coats of paint. Well, next job is to lift up the stern so that I can more comfortably work on the transom. There are a few runs of epoxy on the transom which needs to be sanded off. Then I'll build it up with another 3 or 4 coats, give it a light sanding, which will give it some tooth, which will improve the adhesion of the varnish to it. And of course 3 or 4 coats of varnish will give the epoxy some protection from the UV of the sun. Well, I applied 2 more coats of epoxy on the transom after I sanded it, but the temperature is getting so cold there in the shed now that I had to use a parabolic heater to get the first coat to tack up enough to apply the second coat. The next day I gave it a light sanding, washed off the amine blush, and gave it 3 coats of oil-based varnish. Well, this is the varnish I used. It says on the can it's spar varnish for exterior and marine. And it also says maximum UV protection, so I guess that's a good thing. The next job now will be to finish fairing the gunnels and get them ready for paint. Well, as with most tasks of this build, I'll just record a small snippet of what I'm doing, and in this case, a final fairing of the gunnels. Well, the only positive thing I can think to say on this today is that I'm getting close to the end of the sanding left to do on this build. And I guess with the temperatures cooling off and the fairly high humidity we've been having, that the curing of the epoxy is leaving an awful lot of amine blush, which is really doing a number on clogging up the sandpaper. Anyway, I think I've recorded enough of this sanding now. Well, this will pretty much conclude the Whitehall / Rodney build. There are a few minor additions that need to be done. The additions include installing a drain plug in the baling wheel, installing a stainless steel keel shoe just to protect the keel against a little bit of wear, and of course installing some oar lock sockets. So I'll put out a short update video in the spring when I start doing those little additions.